Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at the Walther PDP. So I'll be the first to admit that when this gun first came out, my reaction was pretty much along the lines of, okay, great, polymer frame, striker fire handgun, chambered in 9mm. It's a good thing we don't already have a lot of those options available.
How original.
Oh my god! Wow!
So all jokes aside, it's not that I hated the gun or I didn't like it, but I just didn't really see a need for it considering the fact that there was so many guns out there already in this particular format. Polymer frame, striker fire handguns, chambered in 9mm. But this gun got so much hype when it first came out, and honestly the hype hasn't really died down. I thought it would be wise of me to go ahead and just pick one of these things up and see for myself if it could in fact live up to the hype, and overall really glad that I did. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So to kick things off, the first thing I would say I really appreciate about the PDP would definitely be the ergonomics. The way this thing feels in hand, if I had to describe it in one word, it would probably be natural. This thing just kind of naturally fills up the space in my hand and feels super comfortable. You also get a good amount of texturing on the front, rear, and sides of the grip. The texturing is nice and grippy without feeling too aggressive or abrasive. So you don't have to worry about this thing tearing up your hands or your shirt or your skin if you plan on concealed carrying this thing. Also really appreciate how Walther provides different back straps for you to customize the grip as well. So if you've got massive bear paws or if you've got tiny baby hands, you can customize the grip to fit you and your hand size, which is always a nice feature to have. The next thing I really like about the Walther PDP is definitely going to be the trigger. For a stock, out-of-the-box striker fire trigger, it's pretty excellent. If you look here, here is the take-up. Take-up is nice and smooth. There's no grittiness or drag. So I'm at the wall right now, and here is the break. So nice and clean, crisp break. There's no sponginess or lag that you can get with some other striker fire guns out there. And if I go ahead and show you the break again, and here's the reset. So pretty short reset and nice audible and tactile reset as well. So yeah, overall for a duty style mass-produced striker fire gun, I'd say that's pretty good. I'd say that's pretty impressive. I don't have a gauge or anything like that to gauge the weight, but if I had to estimate, it's probably around 4 or 5 pounds. But like I said, for a out-of-the-box, mass-produced, utilitarian style firearm, which this is meant to be, I've got no complaints. I think that's a pretty great trigger. Another thing that I really appreciate about the PDP, especially as somebody with smaller size hands, is the fact that the controls on the PDP are nice and oversized. Specifically, the mag release and the slide catch. On a lot of other guns that I've shot, because my hands are on the smaller side, when I go to actuate the slide catch or I go to actuate the magazine release, I actually have to alter my grip to a pretty significant degree to be able to access those controls. However, with the PDP, because everything's so nice and big, by the way, for the safety people, as you can see, empty mag, I can actually reach the mag release and the slide catch without altering my grip too much. So the fact that the controls are so nice and accessible for a variety of different hand sizes is something that I thought was really innovative on Walther's part, and appreciated by people like me who have hands the size of a hobbit. Another thing I really like about the PDP is the fact that it comes cut for an optic. I do appreciate how Walther is living in the 21st century and realizes that pistols in this day and age should come cut for an optic. Pistol optics aren't going anywhere, so appreciate that Walther's with the times. It does not come with an optic plate specifically, however. Once you get the gun, you scan a QR code and you contact Walther's customer service, and they'll send you a complimentary plate of your choosing. I went ahead and chose the plate for the RMR footprint so I can mount my Holosun 508. But you do only get one complimentary plate. It would have been nice if you could get multiple. If Walther had taken a page out of FN's playbook and just offered you multiple different plates so you can go ahead and mount different optics, but Walther's probably saving a boatload of money by keeping their system like that, so really can't complain too much. Would have been nice for them to have multiple optic plates, but I am glad you get one for free. Now, in addition to the good things I had to say about the trigger and the ergos as well as the controls, I want to also point out that I did not do any cleaning or any lubrication to this thing before taking it out of the box, taking it to the range, and putting rounds through it. Didn't experience any hiccups or any malfunctions whatsoever in the hundreds of rounds that I put through it that day. Obviously, I know that an indoor range trip is not really the ultimate pinnacle of reliability testing, but Walther is known for its out-of-the-box reliability, and so far the gun is living up to that reputation. I'll obviously make a report or make a note of it if I do experience a failure of any kind. However, at this point, nothing to report except boring, good reliability and consistency, which is ultimately what you're looking for. And a final point I really want to make about the PDP is the fact that it comes with some of the most aggressive slide cuts I think I've ever seen on a stock gun. It really makes manipulating the slide from the front, if you're into that, or if you're doing press checks, it's just a lot easier to do, especially where I live in the Pacific Northwest. It gets wet and rainy pretty often, so chances are your hands are going to be wet, and having these slides or having these slide cuts definitely makes it easier to manipulate the slide if your hands do indeed get wet and slippery. Alright, so we've gone over what I really like about the PDP. Now let's get into what I'm not really fond of. Number one, recoil impulse. I've heard it's because these guns come from the factory oversprung, but this thing is definitely on the snappier side. It's not unbearable, because at the end of the day it is still just 9mm, but it's definitely not soft shooting. Especially when you compare it to other guns in the same category. The recoil impulse of the PDP, I would say, is not super pleasant. It does return to zero quickly because it is so snappy, so there is that. But overall, the snappiness of the gun is definitely something to consider if you are planning on picking one of these things up. The second thing that I don't particularly like about the PDP is the fact that it only comes with 2 magazines. I get it, that doesn't affect the function of the gun at all, but in my opinion, it does ding the value just a little bit. At this point, I think 3 mags should pretty much just be industry standard. Anything less than that feels kind of like a cheap out. And the last thing that I don't really care for in the Walther PDP is, as much as I love the magazine release, I don't really care for this ridge or this guard underneath it, on the opposite side at least. I find that it interacts with my finger as I'm shooting, and I find that to be a little bit uncomfortable. I get why Walther put it there. However, I don't feel like it's super necessary, and it annoyed me enough to the point where I felt like it was worth mentioning. Even though I do plan on just dremeling this thing off, it's not that big of a deal. Just want to say I wish it wasn't there. So overall, guys, I would say the PDP is living up to the hype so far. You get a great trigger, good ergonomics, optics ready, and pretty good reliability so far. Yeah, there's some things about it that I don't particularly like, but I would say the good still outweighs the bad. And if you're in the market for a striker fire handgun, you'd be remiss to not at least consider the Walther PDP. So that's going to be today's video, guys. Hope you guys found it informative. Looking forward to putting out more content for you guys real soon, but until then, see you next time.